I was like, I'm going to be at Glamour on the Grid next year. And you know what? 1 year later, here I am. Yes, I worked hard on my TikTok, but I don't think it would have come if I did not ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. So I was reaching out to sponsors. I was on LinkedIn like a mad woman, reaching out to all of these sponsors, being like, hey, do you want to work together? This is my media kit, and that's how I got to Glamour on the Grid. And also doing interviews with people from AusGP, getting them on my podcast, asking them about their jobs. You create and network with people, and then all of a sudden, you're making friends and you're getting invited to cool things.
G'day guys, today's episode is brought to you by Deakin University, home to the world's #1 sports science school. And coming up on the show today is Kim Ramnath. Kim is a Formula One content creator who specialises in F1 fashion, pop culture, and insightful commentary into the world of F1. In less than 2 years, she's grown a community of over 47,000 followers and amassed nearly 5 million likes, driven by a passion for inclusivity and empowerment of women in motorsport. There is lots to look out for today, including how to work for yourself in content creation, the skills needed to cultivate a passionate community, and what it's like working so close to the F1 action. Let's go.
I started volunteering.
It's all about who you know in sport.
Am I going to be calling the last 10 seconds of the grand final?
You can connect with the interviewer. The hand goes up when they've got to make a decision.
Having a network is one of the most important things you can do.
I didn't necessarily follow my passion. I followed my curiosity.
Once you've worked in sport, there's no going back.
And then lo and behold, before I left, I got offered 2.
Hello and welcome to the SportsGrad Podcast, the ultimate guide to make it in the sports industry. I'm Ryan Walker, and each week we learn how people made it in the sports industry. We tease out their career decisions, work habits, skills, and everything they do that makes them great, also that you can learn how to get in, get promoted, and get thriving in the sports industry. Just me today as we get into an amazing episode with Kim. Before we do, a few shout outs to some of our legends in the SportsGrad community celebrating some wins this week. So first we've got Jack McDonald, absolute legend here in Melbourne. He's celebrating a new role as Participation and Fan Acquisition Officer at the mighty AFL. Well done to you, Jack, as well as Lyndall McInnes, who has received a new role at the Australian Olympic Committee as the Homefront Project Manager. Previously, Lyndall was the Team Operations Manager, so super exciting time to work for the AOC, given the Olympics are under 100 days away in Paris. So well done to those two. There is plenty happening in our community, and I'm about to list off some amazing things that you can get involved in. If you're a member or if you're on the fence of becoming a member, these might be for you. So obviously got meetups coming up, May 10 in Melbourne, May 15 in Brisbane, and May 16 in Sydney. We're absolutely pumped. Tickets are flying out the door, so grab yours quick before they run out. We've got some coffee clubs happening over the next few weeks. So Melbourne running every Friday. Sydney, we've got a coffee club on May 3rd. In Perth, we've also got a coffee club on May 3rd. And ours is, we've got a London post-work drinks event happening on May the 2nd. So all those details can be found in Discord if you are a member. A super exciting time to be able to connect with some members, not only here in Australia, but across the world as well. Other thing to be aware of is, of course, our May 14th intake. So if you are someone who isn't a SportsGrad member, we open the community 4 times a year, every quarter, and May 14th is the day that you can become a member. And on that same night, we've got a new member speed networking event, so you can meet some of the other members all around Australia and around the world on that day as well. For our pros, so some of our members who are working full-time in the industry, a little bit more established, have a little bit of a career so far, we've got a speed networking event for you as well on May 21st. So lots happening in the community. If you would enjoy a quick email from us every Friday with all the latest job openings, networking events, Q&As, latest podcast episodes, everything that we're doing at SportsGrad, then subscribe to our newsletter. You can head to our website at sportsgrad.com.au/community to subscribe. And there's a link in the show notes as well. In the meantime, grab a pen and enjoy this chat with Kim Ramnath. Are you aiming for a future in sport? Be ready to transform the industry. Study with Deakin and be prepared to redefine what it means to work in sport. Deakin's School of Exercise and Nutrition Sciences is ranked #1 in the world. So if you want to turn your passion for sport into an impactful career, get ready to push the limits of exercise and sports science, sport coaching, sport development, sports management, nutrition sciences, physical education, and more. Apply now to study at Deakin in 2024. Kim, welcome to the SportsGrad Podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. It's lovely to meet you guys, if you will.
Kim, it's wonderful to have you on as well. We love sharing with our audience how we come across our guests and get them onto the podcast. In your case, it was literally stumbling across your profile on LinkedIn. There was something that you did during the Grand Prix that popped up on my newsfeed. I saw the content you were creating around TikTok, had a quick look at it, thought this looks terrific. We need to get her on and find out how she's doing it. And here we are. So lovely to be chatting with you as well.
Thank you so much. I have to ask though, was it the Oscar Piastri video? Was it me asking him to choose between AB de Villiers and Joe Root?
I cannot recall, to be honest. Like, my world just goes that quickly, and I can't even remember what happened yesterday. So I would love to be able to tell you, but I'm sure I've had a quick look through recently as well, and all your content's terrific. So it was one of them.
Thank you.
That is quite the question, though. I saw a few bits of content over the Grand Prix. There were some really random questions going out there, so I don't mind asking about cricketers.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew I had to. So before I went in, I knew I was going to meet him, and I was like, okay, this is my make or break moment. I know that he loves cricket. I love cricket. And then I had to choose which cricket players I was going to ask him about. I was like, I can't throw an Aussie in there because he's going to choose the Aussie. So I was like, who do I pick? I'll go with my favorite and then an English one and see where we go. And he had the right answer, in my opinion. So I was happy with it.
Another one I saw was, what's your favourite ocean? I think the AusGP guys pumped that one out.
Yes.
Some really good stuff. So you're on the right track with the random question, which we love. Kim, every episode we start with a few quickfire questions so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. It's nothing hard-hitting, but just some little ones to start. So I'll hit you with the first one, and that was, what was your first ever job?
I worked at Hungry Jack's. So when I was 14 years old, I started working at Hungry Jack's, just normal attendant, and then I moved up the ranks to the drive-through. So
nice.
That was an interesting time.
Love it. Is that where you became confident, like over the phone?
You know what? I don't actually know because I've had a lot of customer service jobs over the years, but I think multitasking and speaking to people, I probably got through the drive-through window, yes.
Nice. And what did you study at university?
I actually did a Bachelor of Medical Science, and then I did my honours in neuroscience. So I wrote my thesis on Parkinson's disease, which is so I don't do anything in neuro at the moment.
Nice. We love this. You mentioned cricket and F1 before, but is there any favourite sporting moment that comes to mind?
So a pivotal memory in my life is when I went to go get my hair cut, and my dad and I had been watching the cricket before that. It was the South Africa versus Australia game at the SCG. I don't even remember what year it was, but Graham Smith had broken his hand and it felt like, everything was lost. So I went to go get my hair cut, and my dad called me and he's like, Graham Smith's coming out to bat with a broken hand. And I will never forget that day ever.
I love that.
I remember that game.
I do remember that game as well. Kim, what's one platform that you use in your job that you couldn't live without?
I will say LinkedIn. LinkedIn is so, I think it's just changed the game for everyone, and it's how I connected with you guys. It's such a game-changing platform. I love it.
Nice. We love it too. And finally, if you had 30 minutes to pick anyone's brain, who would it be?
I have two people, so I don't know which one I would choose more. And I think that they're both, a lot of people would label them as the GOATs of their sport. So either AB de Villiers or Lewis Hamilton. I can't pick between the two. I love them equally.
Both of them would be absolutely fascinating. Actually, we have a very interesting story about AB de Villiers and his move to the Brisbane Heat in the BBL from one of our podcast guests who was involved in that. He walked into work one day and got put and had a non-disclosure agreement put in front of him and then told he had to fly off to South Africa to then shoot some content for the announcement of AB de Villiers, lied to his partner, lied to his family, and left the country to go and meet AB. So if you want to hear about that, I think that's with Nick Lauby in episode 49 or something way back in 2020. But if you talk to some of the people at Brisbane Heat, they've got some great AB de Villiers stories.
Okay, I need to do that.
Keen to learn a lot more about you because I love what you're doing and I find how you've worked it in with the rest of your life fascinating as well. But before we go any further, like where did your love for Formula One begin and what sparked your interest to start creating content around it?
Okay, so I was adamant that I was not going to get into Formula One because my flatmate during COVID was like, Kim, I've been watching this documentary. I'm obsessed with Formula One now. And I was like, okay, cars going around in circles. I don't care. Like, I'm already obsessed with enough sports. I don't need this in my life. I'm already staying up till at like 3 a.m. watching IPL games. I don't need even more time zones. You know what I mean? And she was like, no, you have to watch it. You've got to watch Drive to Survive. And I said no. But she slowly started introducing it into my life. She would like play YouTube videos for me when we had nothing else to do. She'd like put YouTube videos on. And then there was just one time when I was cooking and she just put Drive to Survive on. And I turned around and I was like, this is a little bit interesting. But at the same time, so I've always had a love for fashion. Fashion is one of my main things. And I think I love to tie that in with my content at the moment. And Lewis Hamilton is a fashion icon. And so I'd been kind of getting more and more into the sport when I noticed him at the Met Gala and saw what he'd been doing with people of color. Like he'd brought fashion designers in who hadn't been invited because he had the ability to do that. And I thought that was really cool. And I'd heard about his rivalry with Max Verstappen. So when she put those episodes on for me, I was like, okay, maybe I could get into this. And so I watched all of season 4. I actually haven't seen any of the other seasons, but I've watched that one. And I said to myself, yeah, you know what? This is a bit of me because I love the lifestyle that revolves around it. I think it's like luxury, fashion, all of that cool stuff that you don't really get with any other sports. And I think that they've tied it in really, really well with their sponsors. And I just thought, I love everything about this. I love the high octane energy. I love the swagger that the guys have and the fashion as well. So I started watching races. I think I got into it so I didn't watch Bahrain that year, but I did watch Melbourne. And I think that was the race where Charles Leclerc got like a grand slam or something. And I was like, wow. Amazing. And then because I'd missed Melbourne, you know what? I'm going to go to Singapore. And then watched all of the races that year, went to Singapore. And I was I don't know if you guys have heard of Lucy McIntosh, but she's super big in the F1 community as a content creator. And she's gone from being a content creator to a presenter. And I'd always tried with TikTok to do fashion videos, but it wasn't working. So I was like, you know what? She's sort of taken both of those worlds and meshed it together really well. And so I took inspiration from her and decided that if one thing's not working for me, I love sport, why not try and tie sport in with fashion as well? And I guess it all went from there and it's just taken off and it's been such an insane journey. I just decided one day to switch to sport and it's just been an upward trajectory since then.
Nice. I love what you say, the Drive to Survive moment. I think everybody not everybody, there's some rusted odd fans who have been F1 fans forever, but I think there's just so many people who have a similar experience where you're at home, you're wondering, how am I going to feel the day? And Drive to Survive was there and thought, hey, I'll give it a go. Like there was no sort of, I have to watch that. I was like, I'll see what this is about. And here we are. We're all obsessed with F1, which is awesome. Keen to understand, was there a moment that you started to really, I guess, take the content, take it way more seriously and start to do it more consistently? Sort of what was that? Yeah, what was that moment that you started to think, hey, like this can be my thing. This is what I can do.
So I think I have always, when I said, I had been trying content before and it wasn't really going anywhere. And I think that the key was to, number one, have your own niche. Number two, be consistent. And I told myself when I was getting into it, I'm a really goal-focused person. So I will write down a set of goals for myself. So when I started on this journey, I set myself goals because I was like, no, this is something that I want to do. I always tell my friends, and it's really funny, but I always tell them I'm not built for a 9-to-5 job. I was not built for that life. I know what I want to be. And it's always sort of been like content creation, things like that. I want to travel the world. I want to have fun doing my job. Not that I don't have fun doing my current job, but, I want to see the world and get to meet cool people and have cool experiences. And I always thought that content creation was the avenue to do that with. So when I started this, I always knew from the get-go that what I wanted and where I wanted it to lead me and how serious I was going to be about it. So when I started, I was being consistent every single day because I had it in my mind that, these are the goals I've set for myself. I need to achieve them.
I love that. When you first started your content journey with the previous fashion sort of videos, prior to that, did you have any sort of journalistic skills or did you have to teach it all yourself just with getting started?
Literally everything self-taught. I think that I get a lot of my speaking skills from school, which is really funny because I was always school captain, class captain, school representative, council, doing public speaking there, doing every school production. So I had exposure to public speaking through those avenues. But outside of that, no sort of journalism experience at all. I think I warned you guys before this. I just love to talk. And so I try and project that into everything that I do.
And how about on the video editing front? So the stuff that you do, is it all pretty simple or do you do anything that requires, Premiere Pro and all these different transitions or quick cuts, whatever? How detailed do you get with that?
If I ever need anything that needs to use cutting or stuff like that, I use CapCut. So that's really easy for me to do with my phone. And I think that a lot of creators, if they're starting out, they really should use CapCut because there's so many different areas to explore on that app. But what I do is pretty simple anyway. It's mostly just green screen stuff. Or if I'm doing clips of me out in the world or trying on different outfits, I'll use CapCut for that for sure.
Nice. Are there any other creators that you looked at when you got started? I guess coming from, if you've never done it before, often you look at other people and see what they've done. Are there other creators that you looked at and you sort of thought, I like what they do, I'm going to, use that as inspiration for what content you're making?
Absolutely. And I mentioned her before, Lissy McIntosh for sure. Yeah. I really, really loved how she'd progressed through her career. But I think the mistake that I made when I was first starting out was I was trying too hard to emulate her content. And then one day I realized, okay, I can't be the same as this girl because it's not going to get me anywhere. People are already consuming her content. So I need to be myself. And it's great that I have inspiration from her and, know what I want to talk about, know what I want to do, but I can't be her. And so I sort of diverged from that path, sort of started along trying to do what she was doing and then completely switched. And yeah, now I'm here.
Yeah, you're never going to get far if you try and completely copy somebody in any realm. I haven't read this book, but I've heard of this book that's called Steal Like an Artist. And basically, from what I understand, the premise is that rather than copying what other people do, just take a dose of what they do and mix it in with what a lot of other people do. So you might look at what Lucy's doing in terms of the way she starts the first 3 seconds of her videos, or you might look at what you're doing with the green screen stuff. You might look at what someone else is doing with the way that they have a call to action or the way someone else tells a story and, mix that together, mix all of your inspirations together, and then you can kind of find your style before it develops. So, Steal Like an Artist is the name of that book. I haven't read it, but I believe that's what it's about. So if anyone's interested in how do I get started but do it appropriately, have a look at that.
That is probably a really good recommendation, and I probably need to read it because I have an issue where I don't read nonfiction books. So I need to get into that. I need to motivate myself a bit more,
That's all right. Sometimes you just get like the book summary on YouTube, and that's usually good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're almost at 50K followers, which is insane. Is there anything you've done that you've noticed that's led, I guess, to the biggest growth in your following? Like, what are those specific things that's led to that almost 50K?
I think creating series are so important on TikTok. You need to have something that your audience wants to come back for and that new people want to engage with because they know that it's a recurring thing that you always do. So for me, I started out with a beginner's guide to Formula One. That was what really, really skyrocketed my channel. And it just got so much traction. I think, because it not only people who are just getting into the sport, it interested them, but also people who knew nothing about the sport. It was really easy for them to digest. And so they were coming back for more. And then also I have a series where every media day, so today's Thursday, media day in F1, I'll wait for all the drivers to arrive in the paddock, take a look at their outfits and give them a rating. And every week I do that and people love it. It's something that they come back for every single week because they're like, we wait for this. And so I think it's really important to have something that your audience looks forward to and also something that your audience you can bring in a new audience with, and then they can go back through, let's say, other videos and consume the rest of it.
Just I'm keen to dive into a bit of the method behind the madness. Like, how do you plan your series, for example? Like, how do you just determine, all right, this is worth a series and this is worth 10 videos rather than 3 videos, and each of it needs a consistent sort of theme or, style like this? How do you construct a series from scratch?
I think it takes, for me, sometimes I plan them, sometimes I don't. There are times where I've planned a series and I want it to be a series and it just doesn't take off. For me, it goes via engagement. So if I start something and I can see that people are engaging with it more, they're asking for more of that content, then that's when I know, okay, this is something that I can use to start a series, and I'll go off comments. So say if one video is doing really well and there are comments in there asking for another one of the same sort of, realm, I will respond to that comment with what they're asking for in video form. And then it just sort of goes and people keep asking and asking and asking. Or if people tell you, oh my God, I love this, you should make this a series, your audience literally will tell you what they want from you. And I think that's the beauty of TikTok. People are so vocal about what they want from you. You have no problem creating.
Out of interest, what was the series that flopped and what was one that did super well that you didn't expect?
So the one that I didn't expect to do super well was my outfit ratings of drivers. And then I tried to capitalize on that because people were like, well, what do you want them to wear? And then I tried to do a series where I went off their personalities and did outfits that I'd pick for them. And that it didn't flop per se, but it wasn't doing as well as the other one. And I was like, you know what, it's probably not worth it.
Yeah.
Because things take time and effort. So if you see that it's not really, you can try a couple of times, but if you see that it's not working out, I don't bother.
Well, it sounds like a really cool way just to test things because, you're under no obligation to finish the series, right? So
Exactly.
you can just start anything and, life moves quick. No one's going to remember what you tried a week or two ago, to be honest.
Exactly. And I think sometimes it can be harmful if you make one thing your whole brand. So for me, outside of my series, I also do other videos like race recaps, rumors, news, I kind of just, if I see something, I'm going to talk about it, So I have that aside from my series, which works. Whereas I've noticed that there's other people who just have one thing. There's like this creator called the London Tube Girl. I don't know if you guys have heard of her, but her whole thing was just doing those videos on the tube, right? And she got super famous from that, lots of brand deals. But then when people started getting bored of that, she couldn't capitalize on anything else. And she had all these millions of followers, but is getting like 100 likes on videos of her not on the tube. So I think it's really important to branch out and try different things.
Nice. What was your rating of Oscar Piastri's Richmond jumper coming into the Oz Grand Prix?
Absolutely 0. I'm an Austin fan. I am a Bombers fan. Yeah, doesn't fly with me. Sorry, Oscar.
Could I just say as well, I thought it was average as, but it's because he was wearing like a non-authentic jumper as well. It was like one of those jumpers that you get from like a fake AFL store, and it just
From
looked
like Vic Market or something.
Yeah, like that was the vibe that it was bringing, and like it just didn't quite hit the mark.
I probably should have jumped in before you said that, Ryan, because I chatted with the person at Richmond who got Oscar the jumper yesterday, and
oh no.
And she's a member of our community, and so I caught up with her for coffee in Richmond, and she said that the jumper that they got Oscar had to be stripped of all the sponsors because he couldn't walk around as a McLaren driver with, you know, Jeep and NIB and whoever else sponsors the Tigers across it. So, yes, I agree. I thought it looked a bit odd. I thought it looked like one of the ones you get out of Big W or whatnot, but no, it was produced by the club.
Yeah.
I was going to say that we need to authenticate his Australian cricket jersey that he wore in Abu Dhabi. Where did he get that from? We need to find out. Because that was an old World Cup one.
Yeah. Which one was that? I haven't seen that photo.
I think it was like the 1999 Cricket World Cup. Was it in 99?
Was it the Thunderbolts?
Yes, all the stars going across.
Yep. No.
Yeah.
Oh, the stars. Yeah, sorry, that one. Yes, that is an iconic jersey. I need to look up that photo. That would be cool.
That was a painful year for me. I mean, I was only 2 years old. But, you know, painful year for me nonetheless as a South African.
Yes.
I don't want to talk about that.
All right, we'll steer clear from cricket. We'll stick to F1.
Yeah. You mentioned like you're, you know, thinking about some series you can do and like sort of what works, what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge content creator, but I would imagine, you know, for people who, you know, do it for a living, like how long do you give yourself for something that's not performing that well? Like say you don't want to have one go at something and it fails and you don't do it again. So like how many cracks do you give before you sort of say, hey, that probably doesn't work?
I normally give things, I think 3 is the lucky number. I give things 3 goes, and if it consistently gets around the same amount of likes, comments, shares, then yeah, I don't continue with it. I don't know. I don't even know how I came up with that number, but I was like, yeah, 3 is enough.
Seems fair.
I think it's fair, yeah. Kim, I'm keen to workshop some stuff with you because, and this is perfect that you are a massive cricket fan and are up till the early hours of the morning watching the IPL, because I'm about to go to India tomorrow night to go to several IPL games, and we'll be capturing a lot of content while I'm there, but I'm also trying to think about, well, what content can I create and should I create, because so much of it is reactionary, but you can also plan a lot of stuff as well. Mm-hmm. So very open question without notice. But if you were headed to India to go to a series of IPL games, what sort of content would you be looking to capture and share?
Oh my goodness.
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Yeah, well, who do you support in the IPL?
I support certain players. Like I'm not tied to any one team. As much as I love, you know, the great state of Gujarat.
Love that. Okay, well, I would sort of go the avenue that F1 is kind of going down right now and ask them about other sports, because that'll sort of bring in a whole new audience, right? So let's say if I was meeting Virat Kohli, I would give him a series of questions about Formula One. You know, does he know about it? What is his favorite sport outside of cricket? You know, just sort of player profiles. I think that would be my thing.
Yep. Okay. Awesome. We're also we're doing like a bit of a cultural tour of India. So we'll do the Taj Mahal. We'll hit up some hot spots like that. But we're also going to an Indian wedding.
Amazing.
And I was like, well, there's a content opportunity. So I thought,
absolutely,
if you were given free reign to be a content creator at a wedding, what would you go and look for?
Indian weddings last like 5 days. I don't know if they're going to do the full shebang, but, you know, that'll be a real experience. There's a lot of culture to take in. I would sort of do like a daily vlog and explain the breakdown of each day of the wedding that I'm going to, because it's just give your audience a chance to like culturally immerse themselves. I think that would be really cool. And I think people love hearing people who don't know much about it talk about it and listen to what they thought was interesting or, you know, brand new to them. So I think insightful content like that at something new is really cool.
Gotcha. So kind of teach people what I'm being taught as it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be amazing.
Okay, awesome. We'll stay tuned. I'll see what I can do for you.
I'll be on the lookout.
Kim, tell us about the most challenging part of being a solo content creator.
Ooh, it is, well, I do have a podcast with someone else. So I have a podcast called Beyond the Formula, and I run that with another content creator called Casey. And she has been a big help in teaching me about a whole new range of things. So I have to give kudos to her. But on my own, I think that it's just really, really hard to deal with trolls. And I know that I should have thicker skin somewhat because I've been on the internet since I was about 14 years old. You know what I mean? And been on Twitter, had my whole fangirl phase on there, and that's a pretty violent place, if I do say so myself. Like, fangirls can get scary. So you sometimes think that you have thick skin, but you actually don't, because sometimes people can be really mean. And when you're a solo content creator, you don't really have anybody else to talk to who understands. You're just kind of like talking to a wall. You can tell your friends about it, but they'll be like, just block them. And it's like, but they've hurt my feelings, you know what I mean? So I think that is a really tough thing to deal with. And it's really nice when you can speak to other content creators and, be like, hey, like, I'm having an issue with this, how do you guys tackle it? Because then you can all sort of share your trauma bond.
Yep. Yeah, it's good to have like-minded people who know what you're going through to share with. How just out of interest, like, how bad does it get? Does it make you want to quit, or is it just like, oh gosh, I really wish this wasn't around, but I'm so glad to be doing what I'm doing?
I don't think anybody could ever make me quit. Like, I am one of those people who's like, nah, I do not care. I'm going to prove you wrong. But I do wish that it didn't exist, because this is something that I've mentioned on my podcast before. I think that as people, a really important part of life is growing and learning from your past mistakes. And there have definitely been times where I've been mean to people on the internet, but that's when I was younger. You know what I mean? And I've learned from that and I've grown from that. So now when I look back at things like that, I'm sort of like, oh, one day you're really, really going to regret that. I see it a lot into fandoms. So Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, some of their fans really, really hate each other, and they can get really nasty on the internet. And so sometimes I see things on Twitter and I'm like, okay, one day you're really going to regret it, and you're going to look back and say, wow, I was not the nicest person. And it's just, regret. So that is my one message to people. It costs nothing to be nice. So just sort of think about, would your future self like this?
Yep, totally, yeah. I don't understand people who hide behind a fake account on the internet and just fling shit at people. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
No, it really doesn't. And I can understand it coming from teenagers, but grown adults are genuinely out there doing it. And I'm like, you have a fully developed brain. Yeah. How are we still here?
Maybe not fully developed.
Maybe.
Yeah. Just looking at any comment section, like there's some comments that are like witty that aren't like, abusing someone or something, but you just scroll down and you're just like, what is this? Like, it's just a pit of just complete and utter crap.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, it is. It is a bad. It's one of the parts of society that is just like, why does that exist, and why do people like to do this?
Absolutely, question everything.
Yeah, it's just people hiding behind burner accounts, which is just a bizarre concept to me. But
makes no sense.
Hey, that's the world we live in, hey?
Unfortunately.
Kim, what would you say to someone who was thinking about being a content creator but then heard about things like this, trolls on the internet, and like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to get into that space? What would you say to someone nervous about facing that?
Don't let anybody bring you down. Do not let anybody tell you how to live your life. If you want to do something, go and do it. I think that's what a lot of people are scared to take the leap, because they're worried about, oh my God, people are going to see me. People are going to perceive me. People from high school might see them, make a fun. Who cares? Who cares? Because one day you could be out there rubbing shoulders with, I don't know, Charles Leclerc, and they're going to be jealous of you. And, you're going to be like, thank God I made that video.
They'll come ask you for tickets.
You could be in the McLaren garage without your co-host.
Hey. We don't talk about that.
But, people are always going to say things, and I think you need to ignore it because it's not worth it. And if you have a goal, go out there and try and achieve it. Who cares what anybody has to say, honestly, because at the end of the day, they don't know you. They don't know who you are as a person, what you're capable of. So their opinion doesn't matter.
Love it. It's great advice.
It's kind of like the problem of getting started, right? Like I'm sure, when you first started to do this, it probably would have been the first hurdle. You're thinking like, do I want to put myself out there? And, there's no perfect method to doing that. But do you remember going back to that moment and thinking, do I want to do this? How do I get past this, this fear of being out there and everybody seeing what I'm up to? And like you said, high school people, followers thinking, what the hell is Kim doing here?
Yeah.
How did you get past all that?
I was terrified. That is one thing that I was like, oh my God, this makes me feel icky. But I was just like, no. It's exactly the advice that I gave everyone else. I had a goal and I was like, you know what? I moved to Sydney in 2016. I don't see these people anymore. I don't have to see them if I don't want to. They could laugh at me behind my back and that does not matter to me because really, again, their opinion doesn't really matter. So if people are going to laugh, they're going to laugh. But I'm going to do what I'm going to do to get to where I need to. And I just sort of kept telling myself. And then when more people started enjoying my content, when I was actually being myself, I was like, yeah, don't care. It's just out the window, block everyone out. And actually a lot of people from my high school are super supportive. I've had so many messages being like, love what you're doing. So, you never know, people could love it.
That's it. It's funny. People will turn around quickly when you start doing well and like, yeah, I supported you the whole time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kim, what other opportunities has creating content on your channel led to that you might not have expected when you first started?
Ooh, that is a hard one. So I think that I sort of wanted it, but didn't actually expect it to happen. But just being in team garages is insane to me because I'm just a small fish in a big sea. How have I gotten the opportunity to be here? And also networking and making friends. I got to meet the CEO of the Australian Grand Prix. I mean, I have him on LinkedIn now. Travis, shout out to you.
Travis. He'd be listening, so shout out to him.
Massive shout out to Travis. And I think meeting him was probably one of the coolest experiences of my Grand Prix. So it's meeting all these new people and getting their life stories and, hearing about what they do and meeting people outside of the sporting industry or from different sports. I think I met Ryan Papley, had no idea who he was, but met him when I was doing a quad lock event and he recognized my perfume and he was like, I have the same one. And then we were talking and I was like, see, I didn't know who this man was 2 seconds ago, but now I do, It's crazy.
That's awesome. Because I saw some of your stuff from Glamour on the Grid and you looked like you were heavily involved in the Oz Grand Prix this year. Like that stuff comes once you've done a good job for a long period of time. But when you're starting out, you don't really think about, I'm going to get in all these places. I just want to create cool things.
Yeah. So I am a big manifester. So I have a journal and I wrote down when I started this content creation journey, I was like, I'm going to be at Glamour on the Grid next year. And you know what? 1 year later, here I am. But yes, I worked hard on my TikTok, but I don't think it would have come if I did not ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. So I was reaching out to sponsors. I was on LinkedIn like a mad woman, reaching out to all of these sponsors, being like, hey, do you want to work together? This is my media kit, and that's how I got to Glamour on the Grid. And also, doing interviews with people from AusGP, getting them on my podcast, asking them about their jobs. You create and network with people and then all of a sudden, you're making friends and you're getting invited to cool things.
So what brands did you end up working with at Glamour on the Grid or across the whole Grand Prix weekend?
Glamour on the Grid, my main sponsor or collaborator was Marriott Bonvoy, which in my mind is insane because that is a global hotel chain, And I was like, okay, I'm working with Marriott Bonvoy. This is insane. Also Quadlock, again, another global company, and they just messaged me a couple of days before being like, do you want to come to our event and meet Oscar? And I was like, what do you mean? Of course I do. St. Hugo was another cool one. So they work with Daniel Ricciardo. with his wine brand, DR3. So that was also insane. Everything to me is mind-blowing. I just cannot believe like this is my life. It's surreal. And I am so grateful for all of it.
I love that. We're very happy for you. It's very inspiring to see.
Thank you.
So good. Do you reckon Glamour on the Grid is one of those events where it's like all the cool people get to go and then like 99.99% of the population are just watching on their phone on the night, just seeing the, everyone on the grid, everyone on the track and the garage and everything. And it's like the event that everybody wants to go to. And Ruse will be there one day.
I was going to say, if all the cool people are being invited, I'm sure I'll see you guys there next year. So
confused as to why,
confused as to why you weren't there this year.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm not really understanding what's going on.
If you get a +2 for next year, we'll happily come along.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, we won't need a +2. You guys will have your own invite. Don't worry about it. You'll be there. You'll be there.
Marriott, McLaren, KO, OzGP, whoever needs help, we'll do it.
If you're listening, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Get these guys to Glamour on the Grid.
I'll be a waiter. I don't mind. I'll serve food. Just get me in.
Just get me off the bench, coach.
You will be sipping margaritas with the rest of us. Don't worry about it.
Perfect.
No, but I do think that a lot of people who go to events like Glamour on the Grid cop a lot of flack. That is one thing that, because everybody's obviously watching from the outside in. And when a big platform like OzGP posts you, like a lot of people don't consume content on TikTok, So I remember I was like, OzGP did an interview with me at Glamour on the Grid and everyone was like, who are these people? Nobody knows who they are. Do they even watch the sport? And people are just like, these people know nothing. And I was just like, I know stuff. But I have my TikTok followers are really, really cool because they were coming into bat for me and they were like, oh my God, like really going hard for me in the comments. So shout out to my followers. You guys are the best.
Nice. I love that. Well, Kim, final question for you, and that is for the people who are at the beginning of their content journey wanting to get to 50,000 followers like yourself. What advice would you give to people thinking of starting their own channel on the side of their day job?
Be yourself. Inject your own personality into it. It's like, Reuben, you were talking about The Art of Stealing, or I can't remember what the book is called, but yes, look at other content creators in your niche, but also inject your own personality into it, because I was reading an article today that says within Formula One, everybody's kind of copying each other. They're all kind of doing the same thing right now, and it's getting really boring. So be yourself. No matter what sport you want to get into, make sure to be yourself, because people want to see you for who you are, and that's what brands pick up on as well, how different you are to other people. So make sure that you are, number one, being yourself, and number two, if you don't ask, you don't get. So even if you only have like 200 followers, whatever, and you're getting heaps of traction, reach out to people, because you just never know what could come from it. And a lot of the times people are really nice. So you might think that you're going to get rejected, but you might not. And you know what? If you do get rejected, who cares? Because you learn from it. So just keep going. Stay consistent, be yourself, keep going, all of that.
Love it. It's great advice. Kim, it has been awesome chatting to you, and we can absolutely tell you love what you do. You can just feel that from chatting to you. So we love chatting to people like you who love what they do as a career, and we've really loved just getting into the nuts and bolts of what life's like as a content creator. So you've got 2 loyal followers in us 2 already, and I'm sure those listening in are soon to become, if they're not already. So good luck for whatever's next, and we'll see you on Glamour on the Grid next year.
Yes, absolutely.
On that note, Kim, where can people find you?
So they can find me on Instagram, TikTok. So F1 Kimerah on TikTok. My Instagram is my full name, so it's Kimerah Ramnath. But yeah, LinkedIn, my TikTok. You can find me anywhere, LinkedIn even. If you want to connect, please do. I have no issues with that. And if you ever want to DM me to ask me questions about what I do and how I do it, please feel free, because I'll always respond.
Amazing. And we'll find you at Glamour on the Grid next year.
Yes, absolutely. Not as waiters, as guests.
Sipping champagne.
I want to say thank you to you guys for having me. It's been so good to talk about what I do every single day and help other people because, like I said, I love to. And also my podcast, Beyond the Formula, as well. That's where we also try and do what you guys are doing and get people into motorsports and give them advice on how to be in the paddock and Formula One. So, yeah, we can count this as a collaboration episode.
Awesome. We love it. Thanks very much, Kim.
Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.
Hey friends, one last thing before you go. If you really want to make an impact in sport, then subscribe to the SportsGrad newsletter. Inside, we share all the latest job openings and networking events, so you're always aware of opportunities to land a job and grow your network. Plus, we share a Q&A with professionals on how they grow their career in sport. Here we talk about things like how they moved overseas or negotiated their salary or landed a new job or promotion, made a career change, and so much more. It's kind of like a little boost of inspiration in your inbox before the weekend. So if you're like us, you're career driven and you're keen to progress quickly, you're going to love the SportsGrad newsletter. To get it, head to sportsgrad.com.au/newsletter to subscribe or follow the link in the show notes. See you next time.